Rolling up Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me, cause she got a bad little waist. And we tearing down this place, off the liquor that we chase. Got some egos to the face, baby I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on that tight frame. All game, no shame, baby came here to play. I feel like an addict cause she's sex, drugs, cocaine. Got a fine little body and her mind's kinda naughty. They say that once you taste it, you cannot replace it. She could get you high, all the dopamine inside triggers fast once she's naked. Her body's a creation. They say the devil made her for his entertainment, but even he couldn't learn how to contain it. Her high heels make a damn good statement. There is no replacement, a body by Satan. Cause she got a bad little waist, and we tearing down this place. Off the liquor that we chase, got some egos to the face. Baby, I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on her tight frame. All game, no shame, baby came here to play. I feel like an addict cause she's sex, drugs, cocaine.
So if you haven't figured it out already, guys, this is bead rolling. Not only is it used to make things look real cool, but it also makes them a lot stronger. It's a cool little technique you can use. It's not very hard. You got to make it kind of flow, kind of go with the motions of stuff. I found the trick was to make lines on the metal, and that way you have something to follow, because if you just freehanded it, it turns out all kind of weird and crazy. It's a little tough to get corners, and you have to think ahead a little bit because you have to make sure that your sheet of metal is going to clear the inside of the bead roller. As you can see, there's about, I think it's about probably 12 to 15 inches of clearance inside that big clamp. It's like a C-channel, right? With pulleys and gears and metal clamping force. So if you don't know what a bead roller is, basically it's, as you can see in the video, there's 2 barrels with gear on the end, and it's got a handle, so it gives you plenty of leverage to be able to turn that thing around, make it move. And you can adjust the height of the 2 wheels that are on the side closest to the camera, where you can see that the metal's grabbing. So what those 2 wheels do is they're offset to each other, and when you put a lot of pressure on it, it pushes one wheel lower than the other, giving you kind of a step down in your metal. I tested it prior, as you can see if you saw the very beginning. I ran a few test pieces just to see how it would work, and it worked out pretty well. I'm pretty confident that my technique and how I'm doing this is not exactly the way you're supposed to be doing it, or exactly the proper way that it's done. After rewatching everything and going through the editing, actually, I feel that I put a little bit too much pressure on there, and I made those beads a little too heavy, a little too deep. The metal is kind of, when it comes out, it's kind of like warped and moved. You can kind of push it back straight, but once it's locked into its position, you'll see the way that I put it all together in the floors. Once it's locked in position, it becomes very strong. The other part of it, obviously, is the way it looks. I feel that throwing some of these beads in here and making a design that's kind of cool on it makes it look a little more professional. It's almost like a little bit of a factory look, I'd almost want to say, but it gives it that next level thing. So I like, instead of just looking at bare sheet metal on it, I think this is pretty cool. It makes it look that much better, that much more detailed, involved. And the idea with this thing, the ElCmamino, is to learn as many techniques in building and designing and all that kind of stuff that I can. So learning how to bead roll with this project, it's pretty fun, it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely do it again. I will do it again, I promise, on another project maybe, because it's pretty much done for now on this. But it's something that I think that I should work on a little bit more, to master a little bit more. I feel like that machine that I was using is a little small. It's good for small pieces, but with that much throw inside the clamp of it, it was a little tough sometimes to get the right depth and the right angles and to get the beads laid down where I wanted them to. We might just go ahead and try to build one day and see how that works out. But until then, we're gonna do the best we can and try to, like, that's why I say you gotta think ahead. So you gotta kind of keep in mind where your metal's gonna turn while you're rolling it, which is a little tricky to get the hang of, because if you're trying to keep it on your line, sometimes you push one way and it actually pulls through another. Similar to the English wheel, there's definitely a way to approach it and think about it first. But if you plan it out good, everything will go smoothly. There was an exterior bend that I did, an exterior bead. Makes it pretty easy because it's just on the outside, you plan it out right and you know where it's gonna sit and where it's gonna flow. Now on the inside, it gets a little trickier, because you'll see when I turn it, when I get to that corner, it gets really close to the inside of the bead roller's mouth, the clamp. Watch when I turn to make this bend on the corner right here. You can see how much it goes in. So you imagine if I had the whole other corner of it to do, and you'll notice in a few clips that I actually sort of overshot my boundary on it and wasn't quite looking in the right spot and ended up having it blocked like that. So the only way out after that is to undo the clamp, take it out, and try to grab it from a different angle, keeping in mind that if you flip the sheet of metal, it might clear, but your bead is going to go in the opposite direction, which happened to me a few times on this build and during the process, but I just like pretended like it was supposed to be like that and put it in anyway. It doesn't look terrible, it doesn't look bad. If you really look for it, you'll notice a few things, but overall, I'm pretty content with it. So this is definitely a technique that I'm happy to add to the book of things that I can do, the whole list. I'm just gonna have to get better at it. I also feel that maybe the flooring and stuff, the way that this was done, is not exactly a technique that you would do in like a higher end hot rod or something that's gonna be restored to be worth money or to be somebody's collector's car one day or something like that. This is a race car, and that's the whole beauty of it, is I don't have any regulation to follow. I don't have any sort of code to be on the road. I'm not worried about it being street legal. It's just pretty much play with the metal, chop it up, build stuff, just make it look cool, make it work, do your own design. And it's a track car, but I don't think I'll ever be able to put it in anything competitive, because it's not really gonna meet any kind of regulation. Maybe I can run an unlimited class time attack or something like that. Mostly, it's gonna be a track car just for track days, going out having fun, when there's a weekend long thing, like the Maple Leaf Bash, for example. If you're from Canada, you know what that is. Those kind of things. It's just gonna be a party car to go out and hang out and rip around and have a good time with the boys, and everybody kind of can everybody that worked on this thing gets to drive it, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. On these panels that I'm doing, these are the interior panels. I'm trying to essentially seal off the firewall so that if anything goes wrong, nothing actually comes through. So these panels were pretty easy. The bead in these was not necessarily for strength because it's such a small piece. It would have been pretty strong just welding it in, but it does add an extra bit of rigidity so that when it is welded in, I'm hoping that I'm not gonna have any rattles from spots where it's kind of tight and kind of close to things and it's not fitting exactly, you know, so any bit more stiffness, security, any way I can get this thing locked in there really well, I'm gonna make sure I do it. So these panels I did in 2 pieces because it was obviously easier. I put the bead in both of them, strengthened them up nice, and the reason for doing 2 pieces essentially is that so I can fit it in between the cage and all the brackets, and in previous videos you saw how I squared that off inside of the firewall, so it gives me something to mount to, but again, it's gotta be squared off, it's gotta be solid, it's gotta be real good. So the beads help that. They help the way it looks from the inside. It's not a part that you're gonna very often see, but it's still pretty cool. So there's a whole lot more to do on this, a lot more bead rolling to do. I got my shop buddy with me, everything is good. So we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for sticking around. Like, comment, subscribe, you know all that stuff. Peace out. See you next week.
If you come